our Honorable Union Steel Minister, Chaudhry Viren Singh Ji, Shri Saraswati Prasad Ji, Special Secretary, Ministry of Steel and CMD, Steel Authority of India Limited, Shri Vaijendra Kumar Ji, CMD of NMDC, Shri Jayant Acharya, Director JSPL Steel, my fellow friends from steel industry, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to all of you. As Monica Bachchan explained in her inaugural discussion, and before that I actually want to thank Monica for developing this platform where we can actually exchange our thoughts in a very clear manner. So as she was mentioning, in the before 2016, the steel industry in India was really in great difficulty. And in the last 2 years, a tremendous amount of change has happened. A lot of turnaround really has happened in the steel industry. And to my mind, there are 4 major reasons for that. The first reason is that globally the steel demand has gone up substantially. So much so that even in China, for example, today the demand is still going up by about 7%. In the last few years, it was 6 to 7%. So that's a big load of the world, the exports which are really happening from China. The second is that the Indian steel industries also have really tried their best to improve their performance in terms of productivity increase, in terms of profitability increase. Each and every steel industry really tried their best to make sure that right from the input cost till the entire, there is a great deal of efficiency which is brought in within the industry. I can just at this point of time just cite this example of JSPL, who at the end of 2014 was in great distress. We were really in a company in a very great difficulty after the process which was established by us, the raw material was not available anymore. So after that, in the next 2-3 years, the tremendous amount of grit and work was carried out to make sure that alternative route was established. And today, after 13 quarters, we are already into a profit. After 13 quarters of losses, we have come to a profit. So that shows that steel people do have steel. However, the other 2 fundamental reasons which really turn around the steel in India are, to my mind, number 1 is the protection measures which were taken by the government of India in terms of the minimum import price and the ADD which was there, and also the joint effort which was carried out by the government of India as well as the industry in promoting the use of steel, in making sure that the demand of the steel really goes up substantially. For these initiatives, sir, I thank our Union Steel Minister. I thank and compliment and congratulate him, as well as the entire steel ministry, as well as the government of India for this tremendous support which has been provided to the steel industry. So I think there is we need to acknowledge that. So that's something which has been done wonderfully well, sir. In the same time frame, we have also seen that some of the steel plants, have also been struggling for their existence. They really had this existential crisis which were there. There were obviously several reasons for that. But one of the fundamental reasons to my mind was the raw material availability of the right quantity, the right quality at the right price. And that was also a very fundamental thing. And I know everybody fully understands. I mean, Mr. Saraswati Prasad in his speech, he has talked about raw material issue. Despite India being one of the, blessed with so much of iron ore, still the price difference between the Indian iron ore and the imported iron ore has actually come down quite a bit. And we need to really think about it as to how to increase that gap, because that is the single biggest advantage, or single advantage which Indian steel industry have. The coking coal issue remains that. So having realized these difficulties and other difficulties, I once again want to compliment the steel minister and the steel ministry that they had several series of meetings with the industry. The one which I notably remember is the one which was there in Kalinganagar, and where each and every issues related to the raw material was very openly discussed, whether it was a royalty on iron ore, whether it was import duty on coking coal, the whole gamut of things were discussed. And I'm sure that based on those discussions, the Steel Ministry and all the other ministries would take action to make sure that this major issue which is being faced by the steel companies, that's something which is addressed with. The other issue which obviously in his speech, Mr. Saraswati Prasad mentioned a whole host of things which are all very, very relevant for the steel industry today. However, I don't want to repeat those, but the one thing which I want to certainly talk about is what's happening in the world today in terms of this so-called trade war. Now, this trade war has several impacts, the way we see. The way we see, for example, is that today in the world, the overall trade is somewhere close to about 300 million tons, excluding, let's say, whatever is happening within the EU independently. Out of that 300 million tons, close to about 85-90 million tons is going to get affected by these protective measures which are being taken by the US and consequently by EU and other countries. And that is something which is a huge source of worry for the Indian steel industry. Not only it will create difficulty for us to export the material, but also we really need to worry about the imports which are likely to happen. And under those scenarios, we also need to understand that what are the actions which are required to be taken. Monica did mention about that FTA which are there with certain countries, and we need to review that. And the Steel Ministry has also promised to look into those issues as to how to address that, because that's something which is extremely important to do that. The other issue which is not really limited only to the so-called trade war in steel, but also globally the issues which are happening, what's going to happen to the oil? Is the oil prices going to really go up substantially because the Iranian oil will not be available so much to the world? And if that be the case, what is the impact that's going to happen to the balance of payment, the interest rates, and the rupee devaluation and so on? The whole chain which can really affect the industry in general and also the steel industry. We all need to gear up and think about it as to what is the right ways of really addressing that. And I'm sure the government of India will be addressing that. The Steel Ministry, government of India, along with all the industries, will really need to find ways and means by which we can address this. Sir, the Steel Ministry and the government of India has a vision of both Make in India as well as to increase the steel capacity to 300 million tons. I can assure you from our company Jindal Steel and Power Limited that we would not be found wanting. We will continue working with you and the entire country and making sure that this dream is fulfilled. Thank you very much.